next guest, very important guest, Ambassador retired Khalid Mahmood, is a former ambassador of Pakistan to Iran, Iraq, China, Saudi Arabia, and Mongolia. Till becoming ambassador, he mostly dealt with the multilateral aspects of Pakistan's foreign policy. He has served as first secretary and later as deputy permanent representative of Pakistan to the United Nations, New York. Along with that, he has served Pakistan and represented Pakistan on very key positions in ECO, OIC, SCO. So he is someone who has always been involved in diplomacy of Pakistan and the policy making of Pakistan. So, sir, we are heading towards you, and I'm handing over mic to you. Floor belongs to you, sir. You the honor.
Thank you very much for this generous introduction. My first words are of apology that due to the problem I'm facing on the internet, I have not been able to follow what has transpired so far. So please bear with me if there is it is out of context or there is some repetition in what I'm going to say. See, national interests, generally speaking, are permanent, but means and instrumentalities employed to realize them can vary, dependent on countries' domestic, political stability, economic clout, and military strength, as well as in view of the correlation of power configuration obtaining in the neighborhood and at the world at large. So a country's policies, domestic, foreign, they require constant review and modulation in sync with the changing internal and external environment. The same is applicable to Pakistan's policies while considering its relations with the Middle Eastern countries, the subject matter of today's webinar. Now, we all know that historically, the bond of a common religion and congruence of sometimes strategic interests have been the force behind close brotherly ties between Pakistan and various Middle Eastern countries. And this bond has been reinforced by the valuable financial assistance provided from time to time to Pakistan in times of its need, and the vast employment opportunities for Pakistani labor force, which is a source of the largest segment of foreign remittances to Pakistan, which is often cash-strapped. But the region has been now, over the time, gone through profound changes, especially after 9/11, which witnessed upsurge of radicalism, terrorism, the upheaval of Arab Spring, the regression in the solution of the Palestine issue, declining value of oil, now COVID-19 pandemic, further upending the economies of most of virtually all countries. So this has been one change, which has come about in this region. On the political side, the Saudi-Iran endemic rivalry and the Gulf countries' normalization of relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords have created a new geopolitical situation. And in the process, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Lebanon, Syria have been devastated. Egypt, Algeria, and Tunisia remain destabilized. And of late, the growing ties of Gulf countries with India have had a dampening impact on Pakistan's relations with these countries, particularly on the core issue of Kashmir. Another new development is that in the wake of US draw down the advent of China and reassertion of Russia in the region, as is evident in Syria. All this heightening the prospect of great power rivalry. So all these changes necessitate an objective, deep review and analysis of Pakistan's ties with these countries and to chart out the future course of action. Now, Pakistan cannot but maintain the importance of common religion in its relations with these countries. We cannot ignore this. As stipulated in Article 40 of Pakistan's Constitution, which states, the state shall endeavor to preserve and strengthen fraternal relations among Muslim countries based on Islamic unity. So we should thus keep promoting the Islamic bond, cooperation and unity in our bilateral and multilateral dealings, principally in the OIC context and the United Nations. And we should keep coordinating action to counter particularly Islamophobia and the attempt to link Islam to terrorism. On the other hand, we must acknowledge that the religious bond is not the sole determinant of our foreign policy, though it remains an important factor. Pakistan has been a good, reliable defense partner to these countries. So efforts should continue to expand these ties through common training, exercises, intelligence sharing, defense production, and in strengthening self-defense to meet the emerging security challenges like piracy, human and drug trafficking, and terrorism. But while doing this, we should take care not to take sides in the disputes between Arab and Muslim countries. For example, in Iran and Saudi Arabia, between sometime even Turkey and Saudi Arabia, if anything, circumstances permitting, effort should be made to help conciliate the disputes. In other words, what I'm suggesting is that we cannot afford to be neutral, but our role should be positive neutrality. Positive neutrality is to create conditions or to help conciliate any problem among fellow Islamic countries in the Middle East. Of course, Iran-Saudi relations, they pose a dilemma to Pakistan. I had the honor of serving in both countries as ambassador. And I can tell you that both are friends of Pakistan, though in a different context too. A former intelligence chief of Saudi Arabia, Prince Turki al-Faisal, he said that Pakistan-Saudi ties are one of the closest relationship in the world between any two countries without any official treaty. And this has been my experience also. I happened to be in Riyadh when we conducted these nuclear tests. And I can tell you that the support which we received from Saudi Arabia at that time, and subsequently also, was really something to be proud of this friendship. I can't go into detail with the time available, but the fact remains that Saudi Arabia has always stood with Pakistan in its trying times. In Iran, Iran is a neighboring country, an Islamic country, and also has stood with us during our times of difficulties, during the wars we had with India, for example. But of course, the economic content in our relationship is very meager, very limited trade, despite being neighbors, no remittances from, prospects of remittances from Iran, unlike the case with Saudi Arabia. And in other words, that the geo-economics of which we are talking of, till as of today, Saudi Arabia still had greater, importance for Pakistan than Iran in the economic terms. Of course, there are prospects which are opening up, which one we have to take into account. So this realization has come about in Pakistan of late, I think a bit late in the time, that we are shifting from geostrategic to more sustainable geo-economics paradigm. And which means that we will not just talk of security, but comprehensive security, which includes human security, economic security. Now, to realize that, we have to focus more on development of trade and to ensure our energy supplies, and also to have greater connectivity with each other.
I think there is a connectivity problem with Ambassador Khalid, and we can wait for some time whether he's returning back or not. Or if not, then we can go forward to our next guest. And I think because if the problem remains like this, then yeah, I think he has the problem and he has gone off from the screen now. So we can go towards our next guest today, Dr. Ikram al-Haq Sayed. Ikram Sayed is a seasoned Middle East affairs expert and also holds 30 years of teaching, research, and human development experience. He also remained visiting faculty member, School of Politics and International Relations, Qaid-e-Azam University, Islamabad. To his research project credits, he has worked on great power politics, debated multiple scenarios in Middle East and Israel. He has carried out foreign policy and analysis of the US vis-a-vis Israel and Middle East. Now critically reviews the change of guards in Israel and its implications for the Middle East. And this is the right time to have you, sir, because whatever is going on, but I think Ambassador Khalid has returned back, and we can wait for a bit of more time for Ikram. I think it was good that we have a pre-intro. Sir Khalid, if you can please carry on.
Sorry, I'm sorry for this interruption. So I was saying that with this now shift from geopolitics to geoeconomics, some now new avenues of pursuing this policy are coming up, and that is the CPEC.
I think there is another interruption, and I think this time we can wait for like 20 seconds because it hardly took him 20 seconds previously to come back. And we can wait for a while. And I think once again, I want to remind our viewers that you need to stick to today's webinar because the next guest we have, he has a lot to say about the topic, which is echoing across Pakistan in every street almost. And in recent past, I mean, everyone was talking about whether Pakistan should go and embrace Israel or should go against Qaid-e-Azam's sayings, in which he said, whatever he said about Israel, that Israel was an illegitimate offspring of the West. And today we'll come to know about what the reality behind today's Israel is, and what is the reality behind the Palestine conflict, and especially on the issues in which not long ago we have been seeing people like Jared Kushner, who are considered as de facto leaders of the Zionism. They have been visiting Saudis, and MBS having very good friendship with it. Meanwhile, I was talking about it. Ambassador Khalid Mahmood is back, and we can't make him wait longer.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? But I can't.
Sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sorry. So
I think the problem is still there, but I think this is the time, because people are wishing that as soon as possible they can have
as I was saying,
Saab.
that CPEC combined with this new deal between China and new possibilities of pursuing our focus on geo-economics. But both things. So first, as I said, my recommendation would be on the positive neutrality stance, opportunities to advance our emphasis on geo-economics. In that, and also we have to enhance employment opportunities for Pakistani labor. Following this COVID and other developments, many Pakistanis working in these countries have lost their jobs, or they have been forced to return to Pakistan. And but I think that this is a passing phase, and we have to refocus on this export of our manpower to these countries. We have to see what opportunities are becoming available in the context of Saudi Vision 2030, Kuwaiti Vision 2030, or 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. So what is important is that we have to prepare our manpower in new skills required, attach importance to vocational training.
I think the problem is still there. It must be owing to the weather conditions of Islamabad today. But I think we can, for now, move towards the next guest. He's anxiously waiting as well. And sir, Abhi, mic on. Can you turn on the mic?
I'm sorry for these disruptions, but I will just conclude in 2-3 minutes more. That's all. Can I continue? Okay. So happily, that following this COVID, the flow of remittances from these countries has not declined, but in fact, the remittances amount has increased. But that is a temporary phenomenon. We have to prepare our labor force in different skills so that they can get employment opportunities, which are now coming up in the context of these various visions which these countries have set for themselves. So to conclude, I would say that we should avoid being sucked into bloc politics, because sometimes it's mentioned Pakistan, Turkey, Iran, and Malaysia. So this is unnecessary. And secondly, we should continue with our frequent high-level exchanges. And in that regard, the establishment of Saudi-Pakistan Supreme Coordination Council is a good move. But there is need for, this is important, there's need for follow-up. Because what happens, MOUs are signed, agreements are signed, but then there is no serious follow-up. So I would suggest the establishment of the office of a special envoy for the Middle East on the pattern of Afghanistan, who should engage with stockholders on a regular basis and help formulate a more robust foreign policy that protects and promotes Pakistan's interests in this region. So thank you very much, and please accept.